I'll tell a quick story about why this is so important. I was at the gym earlier today, and one of my friends is in the spirits industry. And there's this woman who she admires that she wanted to meet for years. She's written so many books about spirits. She's very well respected, but also kind of hard to get to. And the other day, when she was in her apartment, she realized there was a package there that had this woman's name on it. So she's like, "Holy cow! I think she lives in my building." So very serendipitous. And eventually, she ran into this person like in the stairway of their building at like 2 a.m., which is kind of spooky. But she's like, "Oh my God, are you XYZ?" And confirmed that. And they're now connected, right? They're working together in a limited capacity, which might grow into something bigger. But it reminded me of how, back in the day, meaning let's say pre-COVID, you could go out and just meet random people serendipitously and build these networks, right? These relationships. But now it's a bit more challenging to do so in person. However, it's never been easier to do so online, specifically through LinkedIn, because you can literally type in who you want to meet and then go ahead and form that connection, right? So that's what I want to talk about today is how can you do that without hoping someone lives in your building and you run into them at 2 a.m. in the morning. But how do you reach out to people on LinkedIn who you want to connect with for one reason or another and cut through the clutter, the noise they might have? Because often the people that you really want to connect with, they have everyone else trying to do the same thing. So how can you cut through the noise and make that happen? That's what we're going to talk about today. First, I want to say hi to Trinity. She's calling in from Durham, North Carolina. So a lot of North Carolina, South Carolina represented here. It's pretty cool. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So one thing I realized is often people will reach out to me and just send a connection request with no kind of context. And by design, I often just ignore those, which I know sounds rude, or I'll take a quick look at their profile and say, hey, does it seem like this is someone I want to engage with? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because you might be the right person to connect with someone, but if you don't front load yourself for success through the steps we're going to talk about today, you might get passed over, right? And what I do often sometimes is someone will reach out to me randomly and I'll say, "Hey, Joseph, thanks for reaching out. I'm curious, what prompted you to connect with me?" And then I still won't hear anything back. And I'm like, "Well, okay, there was no message in your initial uh, outreach. And then when I prompted you to say something or respond, nothing." So it shows me there are people just collecting people as followers and connections. And I never want to be that person, which is why by design I'm a bit more selective about who I let in. And it's not that I'm being an elitist, but it's just saying, like, do you genuinely want to talk to me or connect with me? Or are you just throwing stuff out there? And on the other side of the coin, I want to make sure I can learn from you as well, right? So I want to see your content. Are you posting on a regular basis? What are you about? Because if that's the case, cool, I can learn something. Otherwise, I'm not sure what's going on. And by default now, if you enable creator mode on your profile, which I encourage you to do, write that down if you haven't done it already, because it helps you get more reach for your content and more features on LinkedIn. By default, if you have that enabled, the option is to follow someone, not connect with them. So when you follow someone, you can still see their content, but you're not connected, meaning you can't message each other back and forth. So again, when someone reaches out and says, "Oh, I just love your content," it's like, okay, cool, you can love it without us connecting. And again, I'm not saying this to be rude. I'm saying this so you know what's going through someone else's mind when you reach out to connect with them, right? So today, I tested this out. Someone sent me a random connection request right before this call, and I said, "Hey, Andrew is his name. I'm curious, what prompted you to reach out?" And he said, "Hey, I love your content. I think it's great. And I'm just wondering, are you single? I have a bunch of women in their 30s who are looking for a life partner, and they might want to meet someone like you." And I'm like, "Well, Andrew, clearly you have not been following me because you see me talking about my wife, my children, and all this other stuff. Plus, that's just kind of random, right?" So again, this guy reached out and responded, but was looking to see what he could take from me as opposed to what he could create, right? Some kind of relationship. So going a bit deeper, when you do reach out to someone, you don't want to just try to pitch them on something, especially like lifelong love, because that's kind of weird. You want to start some kind of relationship, right? So Angela is asking a question. Yes, you will get access to the recordings. That's always a good sign when people ask. So I'm glad to hear about that. You can actually come back to the exact same link and it'll be here visible to you. And then beyond that, Megan, my amazing executive assistant, will have this on my website. as well as on YouTube. And speaking of that, let me, before I hop into the content, one thing I want to ask is if you have not already, there's a survey linked in my profile. And I think Megan's going to put up a QR code in a moment that I would love for you to fill out. My goal here is to learn more about my audience so I can create better content that's going to help you advance your career and or make more money. So if you have not already, you can go to my profile. It's in my featured content section. And it's also the link just below my name, essentially, in my profile. So that'll be super beneficial. If you have already done so, thank you for that. And by the way, that makes you eligible for this giveaway I have with various prizes, including one-on-one time with me. There's some great audio video equipment as well. So please do fill that out. All right, but let's get into it. So I said there's X steps to doing this. The first step to making a connection with almost anyone on the platform is making a good impression, like I said, when they look at your profile. So what does that mean? Well, one thing that's simple is having a picture up, hopefully a picture that shows you in your best light, not in regards to actual light, but just in a way that you look presentable based on who you are in your industry, right? And by that, I mean, years ago, the picture I had on LinkedIn was the same picture as my Facebook photo. So I had like a crooked hat on and like my earrings in and like some like silly necklace, so on and so forth. That wouldn't work too well these days because of who I am and what I want to do. So the first thing is having a decent photo. You can take it yourself. You don't have to have an actual photographer, but just look presentable. And then make it clear what you do in your title on your LinkedIn profile. So don't say that you're a program manager, or don't say like something that's just like a job title. You might want to say something like, I help companies, better facilitate their outcomes by doing great program management. I'm making this up, right? Or on mine, I say, I help entrepreneurs make money, save time, and make better decisions as well, right? So just kind of truncating that. The other thing, which is going to be even more, I would say, time intensive, is this: having good content on your profile, right? Because yes, you do want to have a good photo, a good about section, but if you have good recent content on your profile, that helps too, because that gives another lens into who you are as a human, not just your job title, right? So again, remember that people want to learn from you too. It's not just, okay, let's connect and, talk about stuff. It's like, what can I learn from this person? So that's the very first thing, is setting yourself up for success by making a good first impression. So, out of curiosity here, just say yes or no in the chat here. Have you posted on LinkedIn in the last 2 weeks? Say 2 weeks to make it fair. Have you posted any content on LinkedIn in the last 2 weeks? And for me, that's super important again, because you want to look at someone and see, hey, are you active on the platform? Because if you're connecting with me and you're not active on the platform, it's going to be hard to make a relationship. If I see that you're constantly posting, that lets me know that, hey, if I talk to this person, we can actually continue a conversation, and it just won't be a one-time thing where they're on their merry way. So yes or no, have you posted anything recently, again, within the last 2 weeks on LinkedIn? On my end, I do so pretty much every day. Video when possible, because you can make a deeper relationship there. We have Brittany Barnhart here. She's saying she has. Zoe, good to see you. You have as well. Great. So yeah, I mean, again, and this is regardless of like if you're trying to like make a connection for a job, your company, getting on podcasts, which are all good reasons. It just lets people again know who you are and beyond just the title that you have. But that's the next step, is determining who you want to connect with. And that's why, again, I'm amazed when I get random connections from people. They're like, oh, I'm a pharmacist in Ohio. Let's connect. And I'm like, that sounds interesting, but why are we doing this? Right? If you're inspired by my work, that's great. But I'm just always curious, like, why are you reaching out to people at random connecting? Right? So what you want to do is think about your goals, right? What are your goals for making a connection with someone? And it can be a self-serving goal, so long as you have some kind of value that you can provide as well. So maybe you want to get on more podcasts. Cool. Make a list of podcast hosts that you want to associate with. Follow them, right? Start putting them on your list. Maybe you want to get more speaking engagements. Cool. Start looking at event organizers and put them on your list as well. Maybe you're doing prospecting, right? You're looking for actual clients for your company. That's great too. just have a reason for it, is what I'm saying, because I'm not going to give you an easy way to do this. I'm going to give you a clear way to do this. But if there's no end game for you for making these connections, you're going to say, man, there's a lot of work for nothing. It will be for nothing if you're reaching out to a pharmacist in Ohio, unless that's relevant to you. But if you're thinking to yourself, damn, if I could just meet people in this industry who are on this podcast, right? Who write for this magazine, whatever it is, gosh, that would be amazing, right? So that's why you actually want to have something as an end goal for what you're doing. And Aaron, I'm glad you're here. Aaron said creating every day has been life changing. So Aaron, I would say, is like an emerging creator on LinkedIn. Aaron, how long have you been creating content for? But from what I can tell, he just started and he's just going deep, right? And I can like literally see, you probably don't think I'm paying attention, but I can see your engagements is going up and up and up and up in regards to likes and comments. So just congrats to you for doing that on a consistent basis. And I know you have a family as well. I think you're at least married. So I know it's hard to find that time, but I think you're a good example of how creating content consistently can help you. Same with Matthew Bieber, he's here as well. I want to say Matthew started maybe like a year and a half ago or so, but he's been crushing it as well. He's getting people reaching out to him saying, "Hey, can you help me or my company create this content?" As well as teaching on a university level as well, right? So that's the byproduct of creating content. I don't want to go too deep into that right now, but there's really nothing, there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing it, right? Because you can find all these other opportunities. So again, make that list of who you want to connect with, but then what you also want to do is go to their profile and then go to their recent activity, go to their posts, and then book the URL to see all their recent posts. Bookmark the URL to see all their recent posts because you want to make it easy to find these people going forward, right? You don't want to scroll through your newsfeed hoping to find something relevant. You want to go exactly to these people that are on your list. And on my end, I would say make a top 40 list. 40 people you want to be connected with for whatever reason it is, right? Again, podcasts, prospects, could be, media opportunities, whatever it is, but make that intentional list and then bookmark it so you can easily find their content. And if they post consistently, then you can also write down what time they post their content, right? So if I know that Matthew posts every day at 8:15 a.m., I want to jump in there and be the first comment because first of all, I know he's probably still on the platform, and then second of all, the people that are following him will most likely see my content as well, right? So two steps so far. One is just look presentable by having good content, and the second is be intentional, right? Don't just throw stuff at a wall saying, again, with the random one I got today, some guy asking me if I was married and want to meet some random person, which there's no. Um, so so don't be that person, right? Here's the part again where we're talking about it being challenging. I want you to engage with their content. Engage with their content. What do I mean by that? I mean, comment on it, share it, right? And that way, when you do reach out eventually, you won't be some random person and they'll know, oh, wow, gosh, that's Zoe. I've seen a lot of comments from Zoe. I want to, go ahead and maybe accept this request. But this is also time consuming, right? Because again, like you're going to see they posted on Monday, then maybe again on Thursday, whatever day it is, so on and so forth. And you don't want to just move too quickly, right? You want to build this relationship in the comments. That's where it happens. You build relationships in the comments initially, and then you go to the connection in the DM. But if you don't have this strategic patience, you'll jump to it too quickly. Hey, Aaron, I saw today you posted about baseball. I freaking love baseball. Let's connect, right? That's not a good look. It's actually pretty annoying when people do that. When they see, like, oh, hey, Matthew, I see you exist. Let's connect. You don't want to be that person. Now, beyond building a relationship with a person who you're commenting on, they're also curating a community of people that you can interact with as well. So you don't have to just comment on their post. You can also comment on the commenters as well, because they're still going to see you engaging there, and you might make a connection with some of those fellow commenters as well, right? So this is beneficial because let's pretend you're selling pots and pans, right? Housewares. You can follow Martha Stewart with the goal of one day getting on her TV show or getting an interview from her, right? But if you comment on her post and then also engage in the comments there, that's your audience, right? People that buy pots and pans or care about like housewares and stuff. So don't just over index on trying to comment on the person, we'll call the target, the target connection person, also engage with their comments too, right? So I'm going to ask another question. Yes or no, do you comment 10 times a week or more? So 10 times a week or more, do you comment on other people's posts? Why am I saying 10? Seems like a good number. But when I was out on paternity leave with my son Trevor, I actually commented 10 times per day on LinkedIn because I was too tired to actually create content. I couldn't say smart sounding stuff, but I could comment because the original post gave me the context. I could just kind of chime in. Like, you have some friends that are really good at starting conversations and you can just chime in with something tangentially cool. And then you're like, okay, let me step back and get out of the way. That's pretty much what you're doing when you're commenting. But if you can have a relevant comment, people will then see you posting as well, and that's how you can form relationships. So again, have you commented, let's say, 10 times or more in the last week? And if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to do so because there are some days when, for one reason or another, I just don't feel like posting, right? And don't want to go into details, but sometimes I don't feel like it. However, to kind of keep the algorithm aware of the fact that you exist, it's beneficial to comment because that way it's not like, you posted once on Thursday and haven't come back until Monday, right? So either way, it does make sense to go ahead and comment on a regular basis. And then what you might find is by commenting, that gives you an idea for what you should post as your own content. So there's really no downside to it. There's only upside, and that's how you build relationships. Uh, Still, no one has answered my question, so I'm going to move on. But again, the suggestion here is to comment more often, right? So you're commenting on their content. I mean, better yet, even share it, share their content because now you're saying, hey, I want to get this in front of my audience, right? And just so you know, as a heads up, by design, and when I say by design, I mean by the algorithm. When you share someone's content, like Mike Warner's in here, so thanks, Mike, for showing up here. If I shared his post saying, "Oh, Mike had this brilliant post about the best way to do X, Y, Z," apples to apples, I would get less reach for that post than if I had created original content of my own. That's just how the platform works. So if you're concerned about that, if you want, you can say, "Hey, I just read this great post by Mike Warner. Here's my three key takeaways. Link to the original post in my comments." So if you don't want to sacrifice reach for this moment of relevance with Mike, if you want, you can just summarize what Mike said. And actually, I would encourage you to do that because if you don't create content too often, every impression kind of counts, right? Every view counts. And I see this happen often where someone's like, great post, must read. And it's like, okay, whatever, dude. Like, just have some kind of editorial, aspect to what you're saying as well. Like, here's my three key takeaways from this article that Brittany Barnhart wrote, right? Don't just like say great post and expect me to care. Two reasons why. One, no one cares. Two, you'll get more reach if you summarize their post as your own or original post and then link back to it as well, right? Cool. And I see that Matthew and Aaron looks like they're going to start following and bookmarking each other. Cool, go for it, right? That's the whole point of being here. So heck, I mean, let's talk about that too. Again, pretend there's this person that you really do want to connect with. Next time I see Aaron go live, I'm in there. I'm in the comments saying a bunch of stuff, right? Especially if there's not a lot of people there that are attending. He would appreciate that. And then afterwards, we're getting to this in a moment. I could go ahead and reach out and say, "Hey, Aaron, I was in your LinkedIn live. Gosh, I thought it was amazing." And we now have the baseline for a reason to connect, right? So when you're making a connection request, what you want to do is prove that you're not just throwing stuff at the wall. You want to have some kind of customized message, right? So now we're on step 4 already. Some kind of customized message that includes either a question or a compliment. But even if you have a compliment, you want to include a question because you want to give a reason for people to respond, right? So let's say again, Mike Warner does this LinkedIn Live next week. It's amazing content, as I know it will be. I would reach out and say, "Hey, Mike, gosh, I saw your content, your LinkedIn Live last week. It was amazing. I've been following you for a while and just want to officially connect with you here. And by the way, you mentioned this. Have you ever read this book about XYZ? It actually supplements what you're talking about as well. Just want to make sure you're aware of it." So I'm giving him this huge compliment, but then I'm also going ahead and asking a question too. Otherwise, again, he has no reason to respond. And as a result, we're not starting a conversation. And you've probably had this happen before. Like, have you ever talked to someone and you're having a conversation and you'll say something and they're just like, yeah. And you're like, what the hell am I supposed to do from that? Right? Like, how am I supposed to continue the conversation from here? And that actually, I had an experience yesterday where I'm walking down the street with my wife, going to get my kids, and I walk by this guy that I know from college. I haven't seen him in like 10 years. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm good." And I kept on going, and my wife's like, "Why?" I'm like, "Because the dude is boring. Like, he's a nice guy, but like conversations with him, like his sentence always ends with yeah," and like you're forced to continue the conversation yourself. So what you want to do is not be that person. Like, don't just reach out and say, "Oh, Mike, that was so amazing. It was great. Just want to compliment you," because that's not starting a conversation. That's just, hey, thanks. You might get a hey, thanks, but it's like then you have to find a reply to have to find a way to reply to hey, thanks. You know what I mean? So you might as well get it out the way in the first place, right? So how do you send a custom message? You either have a genuine compliment or a genuine question. How do you do this? Well, again, you engage with them on social media, right? On LinkedIn. And you can mention something specific about a post, a LinkedIn live, or go even deeper. Go even deeper, right? You can say, hey, Aaron, I'm on your newsletter, which is amazing, by the way. And in your last newsletter, you mentioned this. I have a question, whatever, right? Aaron's going to say, holy cow, you're actually on my newsletter, right? Because that's a bigger commitment than just following someone on LinkedIn. I'm actually getting this guy's information in my inbox. So if you can cite something specific they've done, even on a different platform, right? Hey, Brittany, I heard you on this podcast and you said this. I have a question. What are your thoughts on this? Oh, wow, you actually listened to my podcast. You know what I mean? So how do you go deeper into a relationship where you're not just saying great post, right? You're saying, look, I'm this big of a fan of yours, an admirer. I care this much about your information that I've done this digging and this background research. We got a question. Okay, so Aaron's saying, I'm confused because LinkedIn prompts you to share people's posts. Why is that? By repeating your question, I was hoping I would think of the answer as I was talking. I didn't. I would say this. Sometimes platforms have best practices that don't always align with what our goals are. So maybe our goal is to get more reach on the platform. And by pushing the button, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to. I can't answer the question, right? I tried, I can't. But now you know. I wouldn't do that because you'll get less reach. I thought the prompt would ask you to turn your comment into a post. I didn't know it was actually just going to share the post automatically. So if that's the case, then I just wouldn't do that. But I mean, it's 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 the benefit of being a student of the platform as opposed to just a user of it, because then you'll know some things for one reason or another just don't work, right? So like like driving a car, you're supposed to have your hands at 10 and 2. I don't do that. Like I have my hand like I'm just kind of chilling, mind my own business, right? So you can have these best practices that are put in place and even processes, but if you yourself know that in the wild that doesn't work, then don't do it, right? Or experiment, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm making all this stuff up. You can experiment and see what happens, because I've done that too, just to kind of test my own assumptions, right? So no harm in experimenting, right? But again, send a custom message and you're going to say, Terry, gosh, that sounds time consuming. Well, yeah, that's why I said be intentional about who you reach out to, because it is a pain in the ass, right? Or I'll say it this way to be more polite about it. If you enjoy the content the person's creating and you have a strong interest in the theme of the content, it'll be an educational opportunity. It should be interesting, right? So if you're bored by doing all this research, that's a sign to me that you don't really care that much, right? That you're just kind of going through the motions, right? But Matthew Bieber talks about digital marketing all the time. So if I want to reach out to him for whatever reason, if I'm bored by hearing about digital marketing, well, that's an issue because that's core to who he is, right? Brittany Barnhart, she's an expert at BizDev and workflow processes, right? If that bores me hearing her talk about Notion, that's an issue because that's what she's really good at, right? So what am I doing this for, right? And yeah, so that's that, right? If it seems hard, good, because most people will quit. But also, if you're enjoying this stuff, you're going to have a good reason to push through, right? So you're going to send this customized message. And one thing I would say is this: if you notice, because I didn't mention this, There's a siren going by you might hear. But if you've never been to Brooklyn, here's your chance to experience it vicariously. If you notice that there's someone who you really want to meet for whatever reason, right? Let's say it's Jerry Rice, throwing it out there for whatever reason. You really want to meet, but you notice they're rarely on the platform. They're not a good fit, right? So let's zoom out a little bit. Let's pretend that your goal was to meet someone who works at a company, right? Let's say it's a potential prospect for you, or even like you want to get media coverage from like Entrepreneur Magazine, right? There are plenty of people that work at Entrepreneur Magazine who are editors, who if you could contact, they would be a good fit for you to form a relationship with. But if they're never on the platform, follow someone else, right? Follow the product manager that works at Entrepreneur Magazine and then eventually say, hey, look, I'm glad we're connected, so on and so forth. By the way, do you know anyone who might be interested in this content I have to share? So you might not find people who are the direct person you want to form a relationship with, and or they're just not on the platform. So you have to say, well, shoot, someone knows them, right? Who's sitting next to them at work, or who's working with them on a cross-functional team that I can connect with, and then from there build a relationship, right? So you might have to find a side way of doing this stuff if that person's not on there. And Megan knows. Again, Megan's my executive assistant and partner. We had a task actually where she was looking for contact information for people that worked at certain companies. And sometimes we just couldn't find that person, but we could find what we would call the adjacent possible, right? So who's the next person that we can connect with who most likely has a relationship with that person, right? So we're getting very strategic here. And again, that's why this stuff has to matter. There has to be an end game. Otherwise, it's a big pain in the ass, right? So you don't want to do that. So what happens if you send this message and they don't reply, right? It sucks, right? I get it. Uh, First of all, don't take it personal because I've seen people like share their screen sometimes, like during like LinkedIn trainings. They got like 400 pending requests, right? So it's like it's not you. It just might be that there's a lot of people in queue ahead of you, or it's just like overwhelming how many requests they have. So don't take it personal. Otherwise, you'll keep on wondering, what did I do wrong? What's wrong with me? So on and so forth. When it has nothing to do with you, it's just like on a macro level thing happening. So what do you do? Next time you comment on one of their posts, say, hey, by the way, Mike, you might not have seen it, but I sent you a connection request. Would love to hear your response to the question that I asked you in that connection request, right? So that way you have a way of getting in front of them more and saying, I sent you this request, and here's why I want you to respond to it. I asked you a question. So you're sparking curiosity. You don't seem thirsty. You're not bugging them or whatever. But you're finding a way to cut through all that clutter and potentially get in front of them, right? So worst comes to worst, if they don't actually reply, I mean, I wouldn't give up. If they do have an email newsletter, you can reply to that. If they're active on other channels, you can do that too. Again, if they're doing a LinkedIn live like this, you can chime in and mention, hey, by the way, I've been trying to connect with you, so on and so forth. But even if you put your best foot forward, there's chances are not everyone's going to connect. But if you follow these steps, these 5 steps, you're going to be much more likely to make a connection than if you're just throwing stuff at the wall, right? So that's my goal for today. I can grab questions right now, but there's literally never been an easier time in the history of ever to connect with anyone you want in the world to advance your business, right? You just go on LinkedIn, go to the search bar, type in XYZ criteria, and then from there, go ahead and send that connection request after you follow these steps. So Zoe's saying, often after I give a talk or webinar, an attendee will contact me afterwards through LinkedIn. It's landed me some great connections and clients over the years. Yeah, so I love that, right? So by leading these events, you connect with people too. And you actually reminded me of something I want to say. Another way, if you really want to make this connection, is to attend a talk like this, right? And then take notes, right? Write an article. I attended Terry's thing. Here's 3 things I learned. Write an article and follow up with me and say, hey, Terry, I'm writing this article on the last talk you did. I got a quick question. Can you clarify a connection versus a follower again? And they're like, oh, wow, Zoe actually cared enough to write an article about this stuff. Cool. Yes, I will respond, right? So these are like, I call this the game within the game. What are these ways where if you just leverage more creativity, more grit, more curiosity, can you find a way to make this connection? And again, like doing these recaps, these write-ups are a great idea, especially if there's someone who's an author or they have a podcast, because the more people that know they exist, the more money they make, right? So it's a beneficial way to go ahead and make those connections. Cool. All right, let's get some more questions coming in. Otherwise, I'll just keep on babbling. But I will say this or ask this: what encourages you to accept a connection request from someone who you don't know, right? If you've never met them in person, which was the problem I had years ago. Like when I first got on LinkedIn, I would never connect with people that I didn't meet in person, which is obviously not the point of, of the platform. But that's the reservation I had. And these days I'm obviously beyond that. But I'm curious, what can someone do to make you want to connect with them, even if they don't necessarily you don't know them? And then I'll talk about the benefit of it. This is years ago. Random person reaches out to me right when I started my career as an independent consultant, and they're like, "Oh, no note in the connection request," but I reply, I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And they're like, "Oh, we have this event in San Francisco. It's really great for digital marketers. We have some really amazing speakers. Would love to, get your thoughts on it." And I'm like, "Are you trying to get me to attend this thing?" And they're like, "No, we want you to speak at it." And I'm like, "Well, why didn't you say it in the first place?" Right? So they flew me out to San Francisco. I got paid, I think, $3,000 or so, which is not bad for an initial speaking fee. And all that would have never happened if I didn't reply, "Hey, thanks for reaching out. What's your deal?" So by design, I still do that sometimes. If someone reaches out with no context, I'll say, "Hey, thanks for reaching out. What prompted you to connect?" And then 80% of the time, it's just like it's BS. But 20% of the time, it's like, "Oh, I want to work with you. I want to hire you. I want to partner with you, like something relevant, so on and so forth." So I'm encouraging you to not be as dismissive as some people are, like I've described earlier. And if someone does reach out and they seem interesting, ask them why. That said, if they try to sell you life insurance, then just go back and I would recommend removing them from your connections, because it's not going to provide any value to you for your life. Right? Okay. So I'm not hearing any questions, and that's really all I want to talk about. So actually, hold on. We got Matthew chiming in here. He said, Um, at first, it was if I met you, then I connect. Yeah, and then hopefully, I'm assuming Matt, it's changed on your end too, right? So, yeah, I mean, I would say if you're not spending, well, I'll say this, right? If your goal is to grow your brand, grow your network, and grow your revenue, you should spend an hour a day on the platform. And if you think that's too much, I would say, okay, well, what else are you doing that's giving you the same return on your investment in regards to growing your network? Maybe you're doing cold email. I don't know. Maybe you're going to happy hours. If you find something better to do, cool, go do it. But if not, spend an hour a day on the platform, because you will just radically grow your network, which as a proportion of your time will actually help you grow your revenue too. So that's what I would do. So why would you connect with someone you don't know? Zoe saying, if the message contains a comment or question related to what I do, it has to be specific, not just a generic, I teach coaches. Yeah, no, I hear you. What are my thoughts on the new repost feature to share someone else's post without adding any commentary? I think it's the worst thing you can do, just because, first of all, like if you show me this post, like great post from Megan, or just show me Megan's post, and I don't know Megan, I probably don't care that much, right? That's my initial thought. And you're just wasting an opportunity to show your perspective, your thoughts, your expertise, whatever it is. So I see people doing that, and this is just me being myself. I saw this person who's like, "Oh, I'm doing this 100-day challenge. I'm going to post every day on LinkedIn." But like 80% of their posts were just like resharing articles. I'm like, dude, they don't count. Like, like it just doesn't. I'm sorry. Like, I see where you're going with this, but you can't just like keep on saying great article, great article, great article, and like pat yourself on the back. Like that was a wasted opportunity, right? Why is it so great? Like, but again, if you just have this thought in your head that you're always talking to some jaded New Yorker, and the first thing they're going to think is, why do I care? You'll create better content, even if you're just sharing content, right? So that has to be a key takeaway, because it happens far too often. And it's like you're confusing action with progress, and you're not making any progress, right? You're just the repost person, because I've seen that happen. Like someone will reach out to me and like I'll look at their content. It's like they're just sharing a bunch of like memes and inspirational posts. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, but who are you? You know what I mean? Like that's not going to work out too well. What's my approach when trying to approach to network with individuals to land roles you're interested in? I first I'll say this is not something I've done in the last 10 years. So I'm speaking from like hypothetically. But what I would say is don't do this. Don't just say, "Hey, I'm trying to get a job at Panasonic, and I'm curious if you could tell me X, Y, Z." Right? Some people might listen to you if you do that, but I think if you ask them questions about themselves first, "Hey, I see you work at Panasonic, but you have a degree in art history. Was it hard for you to make that change based on what your degree is to what your current profession is?" That's a much more interesting question because then you're giving them an opportunity to share part of themselves, not just help some random person go ahead and get a job somewhere. So, Hector, what I'm saying is I would take it very, very slow unless they expedite the process, right? Because there's a lot of people looking for jobs right now, and that's part of life. But if you're just treating someone like they're a service, like a channel, like a bridge to get you this job, well, what's the point, right? But if you say something like, "Hey, by the way, I see you're a product manager at Panasonic. Here's this new thing coming out from this other company. How do you think that's going to affect your role?" Like anything where it's like not just you seeing what you can take from them, but you're trying to create something. In this case, you're trying to create a conversation or relationship. But I'd be careful with that because like I get people reaching out to me saying, "Hey Terry, I just graduated and I'm looking for a mentor." I'm like, "That's great. So are my four kids." You know, like I have I have things to do. So unfortunately I can't do that. But if they asked direct questions, I'd be much more likely to respond than if they just said, "Hey, looks like you can help me. Do you want to?" Which I would love to, but again, like there's other things I have to do outside of that. So that's why. Another question is, here's my big question. I'll put it up here. What's the next big step? You see my progress on LinkedIn. I have a wall I need to break through. So what's next? Yeah, I mean, on your end, Matt, like what's next? You're creating content on a regular basis, and you're seeing some uptick from it. So it's like, what's next? I mean, on your end, you're an educator, right? You teach. I would start doing stuff like this where you're teaching, right? And maybe you have some kind of series, right? It's the 10 foundational principles every business must know about digital marketing. Day one or week one, we're talking about goal setting. That day two or week two, it's like key performance indicators, whatever it is. So to summarize and not sound so confusing, the next step for you is more video content because I've never seen any video from you ever, right? I've met you in person, so I know that you're real. Like I know you're not like catfishing us all, but I think that's the next step because when you create video, people get an idea of your personality, how well you respond to random asked questions, how engaging you are, things like that. And I would say maybe prepare better than I have today because I don't have a script or anything. It's like kind of talking, but that's what I would do and get to the point where people are looking forward to the next lesson because it's like, wow, he talked about setting an objective. Now I want to learn how to measure my objectives. Next, I want to learn what channels I can use. Next, how do I use creative, so on and so forth. And then from there, and I love giving this advice, so I'm glad you asked. From there, that content's going to live on your profile, but also, like Megan does, what we do is we're slicing up all this content and creating micro content from it, right? So you'll see some of this stuff in a 1 minute video, right? And that's another way to get more eyeballs on it. Matthew saying, "I shy away from video, but I'll start." Hey, dude, that's fine too, because go look on my profile, my most recent video, and what you'll see is, yeah, you see me talking at first, but then there's what's called B-roll going over my voice. So B-roll is like background video. So you could just start off by saying, "Hey, my name's Matt. My name's Matthew, and I'm going to talk to you about marketing," and then just ghost, like peace out, but have like marketing looking video stuff going on in the background as you're talking, and then show up and at the end and say, "There you go," and then peace out, right? So you don't have to be on video the whole time. I think it gives people a good break actually when you do, because otherwise you're just awkwardly staring at the camera the whole time. And if you're not good at that, like I am sometimes, then it can be hard. So the next step, I think, for any of us that feel comfortable is video from there. And then that gets you more opportunities to get on podcasts, on stages, XYZ, because anyone I talk to, I always say the cheat code, if there is one, is forming a partnership with the gatekeepers to your audience, right? So if I'm selling, I don't know, like me, I'm a consultant, right? I can go to the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and say, hey, can I do some free talk on 5 ways to optimize your LinkedIn profile? Sure, great. I go talk there, and then all the attendees are seeing me for half an hour. They might want to pay me for my advice, right? So, yeah, that's what I would do if you feel comfortable. Another question: making the connection to someone with 100,000 followers. I've been told that you should be able to offer something in return. What do I think about that? I mean, I think that the general question is if someone is like an influencer, like a bigger brand, you should offer something in return for their connection. I think anytime you reach out to someone, you should provide value in exchange for their connection if you can. What I don't want to do is this, Aaron. I don't want you to reach out to like Gary Vaynerchuk and say, "Is there anything I can help you out with?" Because anything's a lot, right? So be very specific, right? Hey, I see you do this. I'm wondering if I can help you with that, right? So whenever you reach out to someone and try to give first, be very specific. But I'll say this too. I've reached out to larger people on the platform and given them advice, right? Basic advice like, hey, Aaron, by the way, looks like you spelled car wrong on your website. Easy mistake to make. Just want to let you know. I've done that several times, like literally just called out typos, which I know sounds like the crappiest way to provide value, but it's just me saying, look, hey, let me help you. Oh gosh, you have such great content. I wouldn't want someone to get thrown off by this, right? And again, easy mistake to make. I'm not saying you can't spell. I'm just saying like, it's like a thinko, not a typo. So yeah, I mean, provide value and I think it's a good approach, but the value doesn't have to necessarily be I want to send you this or whatever. It can be like, by the way, you spelled this wrong. So let's go further, Aaron, because this might help some of you out too. Back when I did digital marketing, I would find issues on someone's website. Like, hey, by the way, you don't have this pixel set up correctly. Or on my mobile phone, it's really hard to find a button to put this in my cart, right? Stuff like that. And that could be anyone actually. So going back to the original question, hey, what if you want to get a job somewhere? Hacker could reach out and say, hey, look, I know this is none of your business, but I'm guessing you might know who can correct it. On your website, if I hit this button, it actually goes to a 404 page. Super random. Just wanted to reach out because I admire your company. I've been following along. I've actually applied too, but wanted to let you know that this thing is messed up, right? So that's why I'm saying it's not just strategy, because if I give you a strategy, it's like, if I don't do it the exact way Terry said it, it ain't gonna work, or maybe it will or won't. I'm I'm trying to teach you how to think, not what to think about, but how to think and just be more creative, right? Because you're gonna come up with smarter stuff than I am based on your unique situation and your goals. But I just want you to think more creatively, right? Question is, I'm trying to reach a celebrity to ask him to send a message to a sick child. Are there any high yield methods for this type of connection? So, Mark, first of all, I think it's a great mission that you have, and hopefully things work out as well as possible with this child. What I would do is this, right? Again, explore the adjacent possible. Maybe it's really hard to get to that celebrity, but maybe they've been quoted in some other magazine before, right? So they've been in People magazine. You can reach out to the person who wrote that story and say, hey, Kelly, I'm coming out of nowhere, but I see that you covered The Rock in the April edition of People magazine. I'm just trying to get a message to him. There's this person who would love to see him. Here's a story. Do you know any way I can get in contact with them? So again, find people who have successfully done so in the past. And if they're famous, uh, Mark, they most likely have a publicist. So you can also go to their website and see who their publicist is, because a publicist will at least receive a message. They might not respond to you necessarily, but you can actually get to them. So step one is go to the publicist, like literally. And then step two is find someone who's already successfully made a connection with them and say, gosh, can you please help me out as well? Step three is you can, and this is like more complicated, but if you can get some like grassroots movement around it, like, oh, this young person would really love to meet The Rock, and like get it covered on local news or at least trending on LinkedIn, right? Yeah, we'll say that because it's easier, right? Just say, like, hey, everyone, and you want to do it in a respectful way, but like this person would love to meet The Rock. Can anyone just by liking this will get more visibility? Can you help us out? And then tag The Rock's publicist in that post too, right? So again, this is like the game within the game that I'm referring to. Also, I'd reach out to the Make a Wish Foundation and say, hey, look, I know I'm not associated with Make a Wish right now, but I know you're really good at making these connections. Can you give me any tips on how I can get to The Rock? And they might know somebody who knows somebody, so on and so forth, right? So that's what I would do. And the benefit of having a very large ambition like this is because there's several ways to accomplish it. And as long as you're just putting out something into the world, in those moments when there's really nothing you can do, at least someone might be receiving your message and you are getting closer to what your goal is. So that's what I would do, and I hope it does work. So thanks for sharing that. Let's see. Let's get some more questions. This is actually the fun part for me because I always know what I'm going to talk about, and I can bore myself because I know the ending. But but if you have more questions, I'm happy to grab them. And again, it's just like again, it's realizing that you have the opportunity to reach anyone. You might have to be more creative about it than you know than you might expect initially. But if you can do these things, you can make some really strong connections. And I would also say once you do make a connection, again, don't project lack or scarcity by immediately asking for something, right? You want to keep on giving first, whatever it is, right? It could be advice, it could be amplifying their content still, whatever it is. But again, and this has happened to me before. Like someone will reach out to me, we'll make a connection, and I'll write about them for Entrepreneur Magazine. Like, oh my God, thank you so much. After that, ghost. Never hear from them again. And it's like, wow, we were super cool right before the article published, and afterwards, like, I can't even get you to respond to my DMs, right? So I think that's when that's when you grow a network, when you show up consistently over time, not just that one spark where you made a connection. It's like when you keep on showing up and keep on doing favors and keep on supporting each other. It's not just like, wow, I got a job at Panasonic now. I'm never going to talk to that person again who got me the job. No, I'm going to go back and say thank you, right? So keep that in mind as well. I'm sure you all would, but just be cool. Okay. So again, I'm not seeing any more questions come through. I'm going to reiterate, if you can please fill out that survey. That again is in my featured content section. It's also directly below my name in my profile. That'd be super beneficial. And while we're talking about that, right, best foot forward in your featured content section on your profile, make sure you have good content there, right? That's going to highlight your personality, your expertise, whatever it is, to all these connections you're reaching out to, because that's one of the first things they're going to see on your profile. So make sure you do that too. All right. Mike is saying that's cool. If you wrote about me, I'd be reaching out to suggest ways I can help you in return. Nothing from this person, and they're like a multimillionaire, like tens of millions of dollars in just a few short years. Forgot where they came from. No, I'm joking. I don't know. Like I never know what people have going on, but I know it ain't returning my messages. So that is what it is. But that's why I do appreciate we'll call them real relationships I've been able to form on LinkedIn and other channels, because there were so many people that I forgot that I've never met in person, right? I'll also assume I have, right? People that I'm very close with. And then it's like, oh yeah, we actually haven't met in person, and maybe we never need to, right? See how things go. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to skate. So thank you for this. Any questions, just go ahead. If you're watching this on replay, drop them down in the comments. And what I'll also do is I'll link to this Entrepreneur Magazine article that I wrote on the exact same topic. So if you missed anything, first of all, check the show notes on my website. It's terryrice.co. But then beyond that, you can also find my article there as well. Cool. All right. So I'm going to go. But everyone, thanks for tuning in here. And I will see you next week. So have a good one.